the events coordinator here at East City Bookshop. It's my pleasure to welcome you here this evening. I'm so glad to see so many people here for our event this evening. If you're here for the very first time, could you just raise your hand and let me get a sense of the room? Oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. I guess en français, bienvenue. That's all I got. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to mention a few housekeeping items before we begin. So restrooms are upstairs. I've had a few people inquire. They're upstairs and towards the back. So if you need to use restrooms, that's where they are. If you could take this moment just to silence your cell phones so that we can enjoy everything that Kim has to share with us this evening, I would be very appreciative if you could do that. We have tons of events just like this one, so if you want to know more about what we have going on, we have our website, obviously, but also upstairs you can sign up for our newsletter, and we have some bookmarks that have the events and book clubs that we have coming up. Lastly, at the end, if you would like to get your book signed, and there are books on sale upstairs, we're just going to form a line, but if everyone can do me a favor, and I will remind you at the end, and just fold your chair and put it on the side, that would be very helpful so that we can have space to make a line to get your book signed, okay? And oh, one more thing. While I love a great beverage as much as anyone, books and drinks aren't friends. So please make sure that when you put your drink down, it's not on a book or near a book. All right, so let's get started. Born in Saigon in 1968, Kim Thuy left Vietnam with the boat people at the age of 10 and settled with her family in Quebec. A graduate in translation and law, she has worked as a seamstress, interpreter, lawyer, restaurant owner, and commentator on a radio and television. She lives in Montreal and devotes herself to writing. The novel's title, Ru, has meaning in both Kim's native and adoptive languages. In Vietnamese, Ru is a lullaby. In French, a string. It provides the perfect name for this short yet potent novel. With prose that soothes and sings, Ru weaves through time, flows, and transports, a river of sensuous memories gathering power. It's a classic immigrant story told in a breathtaking new way. In my own reading of the book, I was transported through not a single memory, but an entire experience. As the discussion of refugees and immigrants continues to be ubiquitous in modern life, this book allows us a window into the heart of the issue, people's experience. They say that truth is stranger than fiction. I found Kim's book, Ru, while a work of fiction, to eliminate certain truths. Please join me in welcoming our author for this evening, Kim Thuy.
Do you need the microphone?
Yes,
Yeah, maybe. Because I've been talking all day, so maybe my voice is not so. And this thing is higher than me, so even though I try to put on heels, so that I would be, tall enough. Not tall enough, just not so short. Well. You know, I was not meant to write at all. I never thought that I would have the opportunity to write because I don't master any of the three languages that I kind of know. So, you know, for French, well, some years ago, 30 years ago, I dared to take a class called Creative Writing, and my professor called me up. After 3 weeks into the semester, and he said that for the first time of his career he had never done this before, but he said that the class he graded us on three different issues. The first one was the knowledge of French, the second one was the participation in class, and the third one was creativity. And because I did write something that I thought it was so good, because the first time that I met the word rebelle in French, which is R-E-B-E-L-L-E, I thought that it meant to be beautiful again. You see, right? And so I didn't look it up in the dictionary because I was sure of the definition. And the problem was that my mom always said to me that, oh, don't swear, don't use bad words, don't be mean, because then it would affect your inner beauty. And inner beauty takes a long, long time to build, so be careful. And then when I met this word, rebelle, I really thought that it was the opportunity for redemption. You know, that French has a word for this, that you can regain your beauty. And so I wrote a whole essay about the word rebelle, and to be belle again, and that you can basically swear and not be affected by it. And, sometimes, or be mean and still have a way of redemption. And so the professor, he said that for the knowledge of French, he gave me 0 on 33%. And he said it was for the first time of his career. He had never given that mark for anybody, and so I felt like, you know, quite privileged that I was the first at something. Right? And then the second part was participation in class, and he also gave me 0 because the text that I had to read from the other students, I couldn't see any flaws. They were way beyond my ability to see or to understand. And so all I could say was, oh, I love it, or I don't like it. No, I love it, or I like it, oh, it's good, but, you know, like completely stupid comments. So he gave me 0. So I said, you mean that I have failed? Because that was 66%. And he said, yes. And he recommended me to go and change faculty, you know, to go somewhere else, to go to science, you know, instead of literature. And because I fought against my parents for so long to go into languages, that I could not go home and look at my mom and say that she was right, that I should not go into languages and I should have gone to sciences. And that's why I stayed. And I just hung on to those classes that I got so many 0s that they were not even, you know, I wore basically the word shame every day to go to school. But I was lucky enough because all my friends really supported me and helped me to go through the whole degree. And somehow I got the degree in translation, even though I didn't understand English or French, any of the two, and those were the 2 languages. And but now, you know, that I look back 30 years later, I think I know why they gave me the degree. Because they gave me so many 0s, and I still stayed, right? And I was basically shaming the faculty, right? Someone who didn't master any of the languages and still, you know, was part of this faculty. So I said the only way to kick her out is to give her a diploma. And so that's how I left the faculty. And I left it, and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't go back into science because my average was really, really low. And so my brothers, I don't know why, but they signed me up. They applied in law school, and law school accepted me, strangely enough. But I think because, you know, I was a woman, visible minority, and, you know, many little older and all of that, so they said, okay, we need one of those. And then, so I got accepted into law school without thinking that I would be ever, you know, I would ever practice law. But then, I don't know, there was a law firm crazy enough to offer me a job with really a huge salary. It was so big that, like, the first check when I got it, I thought it was for the whole summer, you know, as a student. So I opened a separate account and put that check in there so that I would not use it, you know, too quickly. And then 2 weeks later, I got the same amount, the same check, and I was sure that there was a mistake from the accounting, you know, department. They kept you know, printing the same check over and over. And then so for at least a year, I just left that money there just to make sure that if they claim it, then I can give it back, right? And so that's how I got to buy my first house when I was 23. When I discovered that money was for. I thought that and so yeah, I thought that amount of money was for the company and not for me. So anyway. I'm sorry, I'm hearing too many noises, and I'm like an autistic person. I listen to all conversations, and so I'm sorry. I'm going to wait for you to sit, and then we will. Okay, thank you so much. It's way too beautiful. Thank you. And so yeah, and then writing came. Because I opened a restaurant after law. I don't know why. It was just a crazy moment, and then I decided to open a restaurant without knowing how to cook, and that was quite a problem. I thought that I would hire a chef, but then the restaurant was so small that we couldn't. I didn't have enough revenue to hire a chef, so I ended up being the chef, the cook. The whoever, the person behind the oven. And as you could imagine, the ovens are made for normal height people, men especially. So I am basically 1 foot short, shorter than. And so when I cook a soup, I never saw what was inside, the pot, and the fire was really under my arm, and I didn't know how to cook, and so there was only one dish a day. You come in and you ate whatever I could do that day, no ordering. That's it. Yeah, and I was such a bad business woman that on the blackboard there was the menu of that day, and then the price, and the clients themselves would change the price for me because they said, if you keep that price, you cannot even pay your staff, on the rent, and so they changed it for me, and then from time to time the price would change. Because they wanted to keep the restaurant open, and writing came because I fell asleep a lot at red lights at night when I went home, because the restaurant business, as you could imagine, you never finish before midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and so when the lights, I don't know how it is here, but maybe in Washington it's quite long, but in Montreal there are some very long red lights, and long enough for me to fall asleep. And you know how it is when you fall asleep, your foot would get lighter and the brake would release itself and the car started moving on its own. And so I had a couple of accidents that way, and my husband was very unhappy with me with the flat nose, a flat nose car, and the insurance company kind of stopped insuring me, and so he said, find a way to stay awake because you cannot go on with this. And being a Vietnamese, one of the first tricks that I found was to eat watermelon seeds. You know what it is, right? It's really hard to eat. You have to concentrate on it, and to put it standing up and give it a very powerful crack, but you have to stop, at the right moment. If not, you break the meat inside, which is really, really thin, but then you damage your teeth. And like any Vietnamese families, I have a dentist brother. You need to have that in a family, and so he said, you start eating watermelon seeds, and I started making to stay awake. I did to-do lists, and then I ran out of things to do, so I started making up different lists, lists of verbs that I knew, of countries, of colors, all kinds, and then I ran out of lists, and so I started taking notes, and then my husband, who is a normal person. Well, you know, well, normal in the sense he's from Quebec and he's from a normal family, you know, normal upbringing. He studied normally and he wanted to become a lawyer. He became a lawyer, you know, like a straight line. And then he met me, right? And he said, okay, you stop. You stop changing jobs and careers at this point, and I was already 39. So he said, okay, if you, how would I closed the restaurant after 5 years, at the end of the lease. Actually, I was always in the red. So he said, that's it. Or you change it into a charity, or, you know, close the restaurant. And so I closed the restaurant, and he forced me to stay home for 1 month to dream of a dream career, and I didn't know how to dream, and I didn't know where to start dreaming actually, because you need a lot of knowledge to dream, and I never dreamed of becoming an author. I didn't know what it takes basically to become an author. So during that month, all I did was to put the notes that I had into the computer just to kill time, and in the evening, whenever, you know, he came home and he said, so what did you, you know, what have you found today? And then I said, I think I'll become a nurse. And then the next day I'll be a banker. You know, so I gave him like 30 different professions. And at the end of those 30 days, of course, I fell in love with the words themselves. And then I stayed on, and then I made up basically excuses to have another month and another month and another month, and then at the end, a year later, the book came to be, and a friend of mine actually, who used to be a customer at the restaurant, and I thought he was a librarian, because he, you know, he was very polite, with glasses, you know, bald, and always sitting in a corner alone reading. And I thought he didn't have any friends. So I said to myself that whenever he got to dessert, just to tell me, so that I would go and have tea with him and give him a friend. And so so those 2 minutes, you know, just added, and we became friends for real. And I discovered that he was not at all a librarian who was lonely. He was actually a very famous movie and TV producer who hid himself there so that he could read, and not having anybody to, you know, bothering him. And then I would go, hi, would you like to have a friend? You know, like, and then he thought that I was lonely, that I needed to talk to somebody, so he followed me. And so he was the one who basically took these pages, which didn't have a title, which didn't even have the numbering of the pages, to an editor, a publisher. And then it got accepted quite quickly. And then from there on, I don't know what happened. They printed the book, and before the book hit the market in Quebec, it was already bought in France. And then France somehow talked about it, and then Italy, and then Spain, and then Germany, and you know, so many countries came. And there was one country that I didn't even know existed, was Macedonia. Yeah. I thought that it was a soup, you know, like, you know that soup. Well, anyway, in Quebec we have this soup. Not soup, but yeah? Yes, kind of, but the Macedonian, you know, it's like a mixture of yes, a mixture of vegetables. So I said, oh, you have Macedonia, I just offer to buy your book. I said, that's a soup, that's vegetables. And then, so anyway, it became, it was basically I have a life of a fairy, or I have a fairy in my life. How do you say that? It's a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale. And in the fairy tale, of course, you need to have princes and princesses. And I confirm with you that they do exist. And you know, and there's one event which was so great that I went to Romania for the launch of the book in Romania, right? Yeah. And And then I didn't know, but I was at the book fair, and then I saw, you know, black limousines coming in with flags, you know, flying and all that. And I said, oh my God, you know, in Bucharest, they really take books so seriously. So I said, I love this country, I love this fair and all of that. And so they came in with, you know, a whole convoy of security following this man. And I said, it must be the prime minister, the president, I don't know. And then he started walking, so I pushed myself away, right, so that they could go through. But actually, and then at one point I didn't know where to go. I hit the wall, and so I had to stop. And he came, and somebody said to me, "Stop moving! He's trying to come towards you." And it was the prince of Romania. And he wanted to be there to launch the book because when the communists came into Romania, he left Romania, stayed a little bit in France, but then moved to Montreal. So he lived in Montreal for many years. So he felt that Quebec was his second home. So when he heard that I was coming, he said to the ambassador, the Canadian ambassador in Bucharest, that I want to be the one who's launching the book and all that. So that's why he came to the book fair, and he was the one who launched the book. So that was Prince number 1. Now, Princess number 2. Princess number 2 is Princess Caroline of Monaco. And I didn't, well, I knew that she existed in magazines, right, in Paris Match. But then one day I got a call and said that, yeah, that Rue was a finalist of this prize from the Monaco, the family Monaco, yeah, a beautiful name, right? And I said, oh my God, and then, so you go there, and then Princess Caroline hosted 3 meals, you know, with her. So we were in private community with her because apparently they give a lot of importance to culture and to literature. And so if among you, some of you want to become writers, I would really suggest this prize because you get to eat with the princess and be in these palaces and really well treated. So it's worth it. You go to Monaco, and then you know, but everything it was so crazy. At one point, I got a call from Ottawa, and the person said in French, but she said, I have the pleasure to announce that you are the laureate of the literary prize award of the Governor General. The general, how do you say that? Le gouverneur général, the governor general. And it's the most prestigious, you know, award that I didn't know existed. So I learned that, but when you hear Governor General, it's serious. So I knew that was serious. And then I just got home from, I don't know where I was, but I was wearing a very tight skirt. And so I had not been breathing for 2 hours, right? It was a 20-year-old skirt, but I wanted to convince myself that I'm still that small, that I could fit in. And I didn't, and so as soon as I got home, I undressed myself very quickly, but then the phone rang, so I picked up the phone, and she said that, and I said, I'm sorry, I cannot find my dictionary, and the computer is off. Can you give me the definition of the word laureate? Laureate. I don't know what it is. And she thought that I was joking, but it was true. I didn't know what it meant. So she said, well, it means that you have won the prize. So I started laughing because I thought that it was a prank from the radio. Because in Quebec, we have these 2 boys who do pranks on Sarah Palin, on the Queen even of England. So, and then I laughed and I said, I'm so flattered that you're making a joke on me, but it's not working because I know it's you. And then I just started laughing, and you know, and I would suggest to you another name that you can make a prank on. You know, whatever, I was, delirious. And And of course the lady from Ottawa is very serious. She's from the government, right? And so she said, "No, I'm calling you from Ottawa. You can call back this number." I said, "You think I'm stupid? That I don't know that you can, turn around these calls?" And then she swore on the head of her mother, which is serious, for a Vietnamese, you don't do that. And so I believed her, and so I said, "Okay, if this is true, then please, let's hang up and do it again, because I'm half naked. I cannot, receive this news while my breast is out there, So I said, "Can we do it again? I will get dressed and then I'll pick up the phone." And I said, and also because I said, I want you to take this, these minutes to discuss with your colleagues and see if you still want to give a literary award to someone who doesn't know the definition of the word laureate. Right? It's not possible. And but yeah, she didn't care so much, so she said, "Well, shut up and just be at the governor's general's residence at whatever date." And do we have time? Because I was going to tell you exactly how I got that award. I went to Ottawa on the day. And I didn't think that I would win, so I didn't have a dress. I didn't have anything ready. So the dress was bought really at the last minute. And when I tried it, the designer he pulled it. He helped me to dress up. So I didn't plan anything. And then I got to Ottawa, and I don't know why I was late, but I had only half an hour to take a shower, get dressed, and all that. And so I put the dress on, and I realized that I couldn't zip myself up. Well, there were buttons and all kinds of stuff. I couldn't close the dress. And I called the reception of the hotel. I said, "Could you send me someone to help me, zip up this dress?" And they said, "Oh, we're really sorry. We only have men at the reception right now. We have to ask the manager." And I said, "Do they have hands? If a man with a hand, then I can accept it. There's no problem. Just send me someone with a hand." And then it took them so long, I couldn't wait. So I just ran out in the hallway and just knocked on doors, right? And you could imagine, I had to hold my dress, because it's a dress that you cannot wear a bra under, right? So I just went like this. I ran and knocked on doors, and then finally somebody came and helped me zip. And I ran down with my heels in my hands and all of that, and my hair was still wet, so I would turn on the ventilation in the car, and it just went, like that. And we got to the residence of the Governor General. And we had to line up, and there was protocol. It was very, very serious. We practiced and all that. And then the moment came, right, where you have all the uniforms, not soldiers, guards, I don't know how you call them, but they're so handsome. It's unbelievable. Yeah, 2 lines of handsome men looking at you, yeah? And we were a bunch, like a snake, we walk out, and then I was the last one. And as I was walking, I realized that I didn't have the right underwear. And there were so many pictures, right? And you will be immortalized with the wrong underwear under the dress. So how could that be? So I said to my publisher, I said, "Do you see my underwear under the dress?" And she said, "I'm not telling you." "What are you going to do if I tell you that I do see the wrong underwear under?" And I said, "Then I have to take it off." And she said, "You cannot take it off. We are walking out to the stage." And then because I was lucky enough to have a dress that was, there was a slit, that's how you use it, yeah? Up to mid, high enough for me to take it off as I was walking. But then I was stuck with this thing in my hand, right? So what do you do? So I said, maybe I can put it here. But then what if you walk and then it falls, right? In the middle of all this. So luckily I saw a plant. So I put it in I just threw it in the plant, thinking that at the end of the evening I could come back and pick it up. But I never got to go back to that same room, because the reception was in another aisle, and I never got to go back. So I don't know what happened to. So anyway, I was not supposed to tell you all this. I've been talking all day. So I just want to tell you stupid stories. But I don't know how many minutes I have left, but maybe I can tell a sexy story for Brianne, actually, who has spent the whole day listening to me. I've been talking since 8 this morning. So many stories have gone through her ears, and you know, very often well, journalists would, not journalists, but many different people would ask me, tell us, why do we have to read? And it's a very difficult answer, because reading you cannot quantify or identify the benefits of reading. So how do you explain why do you need to read? But I had the opportunity with this book to live an event which illustrates perfectly why do we read. And so I'll share this with you. I travel quite a bit because the book is now in 27 countries. Just the 6 months between January and June, we did 16 countries, 43 cities, you know, and onwards, and so I'm quite confused on where I am most of the time. But most of the time I have someone who basically manage my brain, like Brianne, and I just follow. And all of them are very tall, so I just follow them behind, you know, like I just look at them and I go. I never ask questions, and most of the press agents are women, except for Italy. That time it was Marco. And before I went to Italy, I didn't look up for you know what he looked like, because he had my press kit and he had so many pictures of me, so I said he will see me at the airport as I came out in Rome. And so the doors opened, and then there was this magnificent young man looking at me, smiling, big blue eyes, and then you know how Italians are, they're born with style. Yeah, like skinny jeans with an Italian, you know, cut kind of jacket, and then a hat that he wore, the tomboy style, you know, a little bit tilted, and just looking, smiling at me. And I said, oh my God, I will have to spend 10 days with this man. There's a limit to the force of resistance, you know, to beauty. So I said, oh God. So as I was walking to him, I said, okay, make yourself annoying so that if he hates you, then it will help, you know, this distance between us. And so I went up and I said, I know this is December, but I'm not leaving Italy without eating gelato. And I said, I'll be an annoying author, you know. And then what I didn't know was that in Canada, Dairy Queens close in December. You cannot find a Dairy Queen. So I thought it was the same thing in Italy. But in Italy, it's always open. You know, like gelato is always available everywhere. And so he said, yes, of course. So he didn't understand why I was all like, yeah, this is a big challenge. And so we took the train and we went to Bologna. And he said this was the place where I should have my first gelato, Italian gelato, because Bologna is the gastronomy, you know, all the furs, whatever. Every city is the furs and all the best of something, right? So Bologna, he took me into this gelateria, which was smaller. There were only 10 flavors instead of 68 in commercial places. And so I went in and he said, choose, you know, whatever flavor you want. And I said, there are only 10. I want them all. You know, like in life, you already have to choose your husband, your car.